So my name's James Whitelock, and I'm Managing Director of ThinkinCircles. We are a digital strategy agency who works specifically with recruitment agencies. So what am I doing here talking to candidates and applicants and job seekers? Well, I'm going to kind of turn it on the table, and I'm going to give you an adaptation of a presentation that Simon saw a couple of weeks ago that was specifically for recruiters. And I've changed it, so I'm giving you guys a little bit of an insight into what they are looking for when it comes to online, when it comes to social media, and when it comes to kind of how you're going to kind of try and sell yourself, how you're going to appear online. So, yeah, if you get seasick, you may want to look away at some point, because this does kind of swish around and swirl around and a little bit. So, some general points about social media. So, not all networks are created equal. So you've got a lot of different social networks out there. You've got LinkedIn, you've got Facebook, you've got Twitter. We will even talk about Instagram, and we talk about YouTube. But trying to pick the right one, and what you say on those social platforms is different depending on what you want to do. You know, LinkedIn is very professional focused. LinkedIn, you could even argue, is not really a social network, because you don't really do much social stuff on there. So what you put up on there is very different to what you might put up on Facebook, as opposed to what you might put up on Twitter, et cetera, et cetera. So, and that kind of leads into the next one, is the kind of, not all posts are created equal. When I say posts, I mean kind of the kind of things you're putting up on those websites. So the stuff you might put up on Facebook probably isn't appropriate to put up onto your LinkedIn, on your LinkedIn posts. Yeah, and we'll come on more to that in a bit. Broadcast or not to broadcast. So that's basically, this goes for recruiters as well, and it's about engagement, and it is about a two-way flow of conversation. So what you find a lot of recruiters, not everybody, is they just post stuff out there. So they might just use Twitter like a job board, you know, and you might see a job on Twitter, and you might apply for it, you might not. Okay, it depends if you're on Twitter. But what you really want to get from what recruiters do is really want kind of a two-way flow of information and engagement. So if you can get into a position where you can do that, even better. This is what these guys want. This is what I'm advising these guys to do, to be in that position, and so they're expecting it now. So yeah. Stand out. Now everybody's talked about kind of standing out. Every speaker this evening has talked about how to stand out. There's a few different ways. One is going back to the previous point, is kind of just be engaging, be comment. You know, if you're in groups on LinkedIn, you know, if you're in the Principal People group on LinkedIn, make sure you comment, stand out a little bit. But you can also do things like writing your own blogs, and you can even create little videos, and you can create Instagram kind of videos and things, just to make you stand above the rest of the crowd. Because all those different types of networks now are all being searched by recruiters. You know, it isn't just the LinkedIns and the Twitters and the Facebooks. You know, there are other networks out there. I know recruiters are using Pinterest, or they're using Vine, or they're using everything that's out there at their disposal, because they want to make sure they get to you before anyone else does. And so they are using all their skills and advice from people like me as well to help make sure that they get to you and put the right role in front of you before anyone else does. And you need to stand out. And that goes through, obviously, we've heard about how to do it on your CV, but you also have to do it online. So a little bit about Facebook. We won't go for every single one, because I'll make sure that everybody has access to this presentation. So I'm sure Simon will pass this around. So we'll go. And I'm also conscious of time, and like you, I also want to drink downstairs. One of the big things about Facebook, obviously, is privacy. So check the logs. Make sure that you've kind of got your privacy settings the way you want to be accessible. You know, the amount of times you can search for quite a few people on Facebook, probably a lot of people in this room, and you'll get absolutely everything that they've ever posted on Facebook. There's ways around that. You don't have to do that. You know, you can kind of narrow it down. You know, and you just have to. The privacy settings on Facebook are pretty easy to follow, and if you just have to kind of spend a little bit of time and do it properly. The About Me section on your Facebook page, you can use that almost as a little kind of not a CV, but you can give a little bit more explanation about who you are. You know, these guys will probably read them, and if it is accessible, it's going to be kind of used as part of your kind of profile. What happens a lot these days within recruitment agencies is, even though they're able to kind of save your CV, they can also save, chunks of your Facebook page against your profile in their databases. They can also save chunks of your LinkedIn profile. They can save your Twitter account. So they can make all this up to build a profile, and so they can use it to kind of search against you. So anything you can kind of get across that helps you to kind of, stand out is best. Is really helpful. And the About Me section, really simple, but a lot of people just don't even bother with it, or never update it. You update it once when you create a Facebook page, and then it's never updated again. Etiquette, another one is a really kind of important line. When you're interacting with anyone online, it's the same as any other social situation. No one wants to be labelled as a troll or anything like that. So it's just to be kind of as pleasant as you would when you're face to face. Just be exactly the same online. There's some technical stuff in there, but if you want to go and talk about hashtags and some of the other stuff, grab me at the end, and I can kind of give you some more kind of detail about those kind of things. So Twitter, 39% of all job seekers are on Twitter. So and that's probably a little bit out of date. It's probably a little bit higher than that. It's probably around about 45%. Twitter's actually the one thing that a lot of recruiters always say to me, I don't really understand Twitter. I don't really get it. Now I'm sure there's a few other people in the room who are going, I don't really understand Twitter and I don't really get it. You don't really have to. You have to know that it's there. It's not going anywhere. And it is a social network that these guys on the front row are all going to be using to try and find really good candidates and post their roles out online. So even if you just dip your toe in, it's worth kind of just going ahead and dipping your toe in and getting used to it. The other stuff on there is a bit more about the technical stuff about Twitter. So if you're not already using it, I won't go into it too much. But to say, if you're not using it, at least dip your toe in and have a look at it. LinkedIn. Now this is the one that probably everyone's really interested in, is the LinkedIn stuff. Because I'm sure everyone is kind of using LinkedIn as basically their online CV and their online profile. So keep up to date. One thing LinkedIn is really, really bad at is telling you when it's changed anything. It will they never kind of email you out. They never tell you that changes have happened to the profile. And it's the same for the recruiters, and it's the same for job seekers as well. So recently they made a change to your profile where you could actually add a photograph as a banner in the background on your profile. Never really told anyone. It had only really been a kind of for people who were had a paid for service. You could get that. Now it's free, but no one told it. And you can technically put anything up there. But you know what? You could put if you had the ability, you could put maybe your phone number up in one corner of this banner. You could put some other details up in that banner. You could use it as another piece of collateral to get some information about you across. Insight: who's looking at your profile? There's a really big space on LinkedIn about who's looking at your profile, and there's usually a notifications at the top about who's looking at your profile. Who is looking at your profile? If you don't know, then you can't necessarily kind of adapt what you're doing on LinkedIn to who's looking at it. It's something I look at. I'm not a recruiter, but I look at who's looking at my profile on a daily basis because I want to know if there's other competitors, and if there's anyone probably from here this evening, and maybe we can connect with. So it's always kind of good to know. And also, don't be afraid to kind of just send if you think this is someone who's looking at your profile might be of interest and they might be able to help you on your kind of getting a new role, feel free to kind of connect with them. Even though initially they might not look kind of like the right kind of person, but you never know where these things are going to go. Multimedia. This is something again LinkedIn never told anyone about. You can now add kind of presentations, PowerPoint presentations. So any presentation you may have kind of worked on or given, or was part of your background, or was part of a project you work on, you can now add that to your profile as well. So it's not just a big lump of text. You can add videos. My profile's got my Prezi presentations on there. So you can add something else that's a bit more engaging to your profile. And again, it's a bit about standing out. Keep it professional. That's obvious. But the amount of times I'm sure everybody has done it, has trawled through LinkedIn, and you've got the cut-off wedding photo. Everybody has seen the cut-off wedding photo where someone has been kind of strategically removed from that side or from that side. They're all laughing because they know it's true. It doesn't take much to just get. You can do it on your mobile phone these days to get someone to just take a half decent photo of you with a tie, just in front of a plain background, and put that up as your profile photo. that's enough. You don't have to have professional stuff done, but it needs to be professional. Again, like we were talking about in the interview, those first impressions. Your headline. So the LinkedIn profile is made up of several different sections. The first thing you come across is the headline. The headline doesn't have to be your job title or anything else. I put it in there. I started ThinkinCircles because no one else could. Tiny little bit arrogant, but it does catch people's eye. It doesn't have to be your job title. It doesn't have to be your mobile phone number for everybody on the front row. Again, we've got a few sniggers there because that's generally how recruiters use it. They put in their job title and their mobile phone number. It doesn't have to be that. It can be something a bit more eye-catching. Underneath that, you've got your summary. That's even before you get to your work experience and your education. Your summary, again, isn't your CV. Your summary could be your achievements. In my LinkedIn profile, it's a little bit of kind of my the goals and the aims and things I wanted for my business, and a few of my achievements from my past. So use it again to as a little piece to just catch people's eye and stand out from the crowd. You know what? It's actually almost the other stuff. The kind of your work background is slightly superfluous to that kind of first bit above the scroll line that any recruiter is going to see. Let's moving on. I'll talk a little bit about YouTube. I don't think many people, but I'm going to mention kind of YouTube and a few others because, recruiters are using them to kind of to advertise vacancies. So it's a good place to kind of look for new jobs and new roles. More and more recruiters now are kind of creating a video to go along with their roles, and so you can kind of use it as another search engine. And if you are brave enough, you could create a video CV. Again, you've got to be of a certain kind of character to try and create one of them. But people do them, and it is another method of being found online. But you have to be of the right kind of persuasion. Quite gregarious, I would imagine, to create a video CV. I don't have one, but I know people who do, and they do work for them very well. Instagram. Now, I'm guessing that maybe only half the people on here are in Instagram. The other people are probably thinking, what's Instagram? It's a kind of a photo sharing, a video sharing kind of service. But I put it up there because it's one of these emerging social networks that, again, recruiters are starting to use. They are starting to kind of use it to search and starting to kind of post kind of interesting kind of photos up there, short videos. Because one of the things these guys are trying to do as well is trying to make sure that you choose them as well as them choosing you. So they're trying to put stuff out online that is of interest, that they may think of interest to you guys, to make them kind of to build their brand as much as you want to build your own personal brand. So again, these are other social networks where everyone they're kind of getting involved with. So there's no reason why you shouldn't try and kind of get involved with it as well. Google Plus. Now everyone, if you've got a Google account, i.e. you use Gmail, you've probably got a Google Plus account, but you probably don't know it. Because Google in an incredibly friendly way, whenever you create a Gmail account, you're also given access to YouTube and to Google Plus and to Google Hangouts and all the other Google products that you may well never use. However, Google Plus is starting to kind of is a social network created by Google, and it's starting to get a bit more traction now. As I said, if you've got a Gmail account, you can probably be found on Google Plus, and it is another avenue to put your information up there. Personally, I actually prefer Google Plus to Facebook. It's actually a nicer system to use. It's easier to use, and it's much more user-friendly, basically. As part of Google Plus, there's a section called Google Hangouts, which is like their version of Skype. Now, I don't know how many have done video interviews, but this is something else that's starting to kind of gain traction with recruiters, where instead of using Skype for a video interviewing, Google Plus is the way forward. It's probably a better system as well. Mobile recruitment. I know I talk to recruiters about mobile recruitment all the time. So from the other side is just to kind of remember that you can now it's really easy to apply for vacancies on your mobile, your tablet. All you really need to do is make sure you've got a copy of your CV somewhere in the cloud, or you can even save it onto your mobile device, and you can apply while on the go. And a lot of times you can use what's called a LinkedIn apply button, and you just kind of link it to your LinkedIn account and send the recruiter your LinkedIn profile instead of your CV. Yeah. So a few tips. Keep up to date, because these people aren't very happy. They're not very clever in telling you when something's changed. Keep it tidy and keep it professional. How do you want to be found? So, you know, where are the jobs that you want to apply for, and where are the recruiters who are trying to recruit for these roles? Make sure you're in those areas and mixing in those communities. So yeah, so go where the recruiters are. You know, and if you want to find out what's kind of, you know, the best ways to be found, there are lots of people online who talk about you know, using social media as a job-seeking tool. We do it a little bit, but there are other kinds of experts. So, you know, keep up, follow them. You know, they're all over Twitter, they're all on Facebook, they've all got their own LinkedIn pages. They're happy to kind of connect, and they also write lots of really interesting blogs about kind of using social media for job seeking. So keep up to date with them, and they can give you the best tips on and the ways of kind of staying ahead of the crowd and standing out from the crowd. A few social myths: whoever shouts the loudest, he must know the most. No, doesn't really matter. You own your data. No, you don't own any of your data. All the social networks own all your data. Early adoption is an advantage. No, let other people make the mistakes first before you go anywhere near it. And you're 6 degrees from Kevin Bacon. No, you're not. You're probably a little bit closer. Things to keep in mind: privacy is always a big kind of thing online. These days, it's really easy to kind of manage your privacy online. Facebook have made a lot of effort into trying to make it a lot easier to make sure that you have control over who sees what on your profile. And the same with your LinkedIn profile, and the same with Twitter, blah, 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 blah. Personal branding, I'm not really going to go into that too much, but that basically just means that, remember, what you put out online is just like your CV, is just your personality online. So make sure it's what you want to kind of be, how you want to be perceived online. And it's all about who you know. So again, don't be afraid to connect with people on LinkedIn. Don't be afraid to follow people on Twitter. And, you know, join the right kind of Facebook pages, and get to kind of more engaged with that those communities that you want to be having, where you want to get a role. Any questions?
Would you suggest having 2 Facebook pages?
No.
Professional and
No. You can. There's enough privacy settings on Facebook where if you can hide the photos from the weekend and things like that, so you don't, you know, or all those things.
I'm ex-military, so my friends put a lot of stuff on, including me in it.
You can still, there's still stuff where you can kind of, you know, you can limit that to who can see those posts, where it be just friends or people outside of your friends and things. There's all kinds of kind of privacy settings that can do that. I wouldn't go down the route of having two Facebook pages. Just be a nightmare to want to manage 2 of them, you know. I don't know what. Maybe I'm getting. Maybe I should be advising you on this. Personally, I wouldn't have to put 2 Facebook pages, but yeah, there's enough settings on there where you can kind of manage that. Yeah. Any other questions? Anything else? You can come and see me. I'll be downstairs for a drink later anyway. So.
Can I just make a comment on LinkedIn?
Go for it.
If you do go to link in with someone, and so this is a personal bugbear, please just don't send me I'd like to link in with you, because I don't accept them. I accept LinkedIn's where you say, hi, I met you here, I know you from that, or I'd like to connect with you because, not just sending out that I'd like to connect with you, because it has no context for me. So even if you don't know me, I'll still connect with you, but you have to have made more of an effort than just pressing the standard button to send it to me, because I'll just ignore those. Okay? So, personal thing. Thanks.
Thank you very much, John. That's good.